Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Green Wisdom Health Show. I'm Janet Lewis.
And I'm Dr. Lewis.
And we are hoping this show finds you guys doing well, staying out of the virus's way, and being healthy. And with that, we've noticed a few of your posts with some pictures on it of things we thought we should address, called Is Comfort Food Making You Uncomfortable? Because as good as this all is tasting, there may be some consequences coming down the pike for eating incorrectly. So Dr. Lewis is going to help educate us today and tell us about maybe some ways that we can try to stay healthier during this time, because they're very much correlating people that are getting this to being unhealthy. So if you're new to the show, we're going to tell you ways that you can start getting healthy. If you're listeners of our show, we appreciate you very much, and going to make a special offer for you at the end of the show, and have a couple of questions to answer. So Dr. Lewis, now that you're all doing good over there and staying peppy and healthy, can you tell us how to stay out of the sugar bowl? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I got the look on that one. A week or so ago, Jonathan said, we were talking about stress on the Shooting Straight with Dr. Lewis Facebook group, which I wish more people would join because we have fun there. He said a little Blue Bunny would help. I said Bluebell. I had Bluebell last night, but I changed the microbiome in my gut enough that it didn't really taste the same. And then Brian down in Florida kind of got in it and said Bluebell's a stress reliever. Well, I did Bluebell again last night. I've done some stress eating because, there's much more good things coming out of people under stress, and there's a few people that are spitting a little more venom. And I eat sugar. I'd much rather have sugar than alcohol when I'm stressed, and I've gained 2 pounds. Yeah, 2 pounds, and that makes me uncomfortable. And it's people that have tendency toward diabetes and heart disease and or high blood pressure, which I think is the same thing as heart disease. They're the ones that are much, much, much more susceptible to this COVID-19 and many other things. So, but you've got to understand, just because the media says it long enough and loud enough doesn't necessarily make it true, because I just talked to a lady that works in both of the big hospitals here, and she says, no, we're not busy at all. She says, COVID-19 is a thing, but it's about 90% smoke mirrors and not real. Here's the thing, though. Why is the media pushing all this fear and death? I don't know. But I'm going to tell you, fear doesn't stop death. It stops life, and life as we know it now. Worrying doesn't take away tomorrow's troubles. It only takes away today's peace, and I hope that you will remember that. And, that being said, it's something that would be applicable anytime. Are you a viewer or a doer? There's so many people that's gathering information and not doing anything with it. The Bible says faith without works is dead. So if you're not doing, because of the internet, there's a lot of viewers, a lot of people that are gathering information, not doing anything with it. So I would invite you to take action, because the only thing that determines your health or destiny is whether you choose to live big, imagine big, and do it. Go big or go home is my advice to you. I'm not really bold. And Rob up in Lake Orion, Michigan, love that guy. He's talking about my mask on Shooting Straight with my Crown Royal, made out of a Crown Royal bag. And he says, I think you're the kind of person that doesn't like the word can't. I said, you're psychic, because I know. I'm in charge of my destiny, and I think, at my age, I look back at all the things I've worried about, and 99% of them didn't come true, and the 1% that did come true wasn't half as bad as I thought it was going to be anyway. So, folks, life's too short not to be having fun, and our job here, or our goal, Janet and my goal, is to help you be healthy enough to feel good, to have life more abundantly, and feel good while you get there. feeling good, it's a lot easier to have fun. And isn't life supposed to be fun?
Well, one thing we noticed, was Easter weekend, last weekend for us, and we had a few family members over, one of them being our grandson, that, Dr. Lewis and I had pretty much cut out gluten. It's like it don't really exist in our house because it makes us feel so bad. Well, my grandson made brownies, and there was no way that I could not eat a brownie after he made it, and Dr. Lewis had one also. And we noticed that it took us about 3 days to get past eating that one brownie of how bad we felt. And you don't think about that this food that you're making at home. I see these loaves of bread that people are making, and I get it. Times are tough. The food, you've got to buy what you can, but maybe making some better choices without the gluten in it would help. And we're pretty excited about some new testing coming out that we think have organized now to show people just how dangerous this is for them and what it's doing to their health. But what we just couldn't get over how our respiratory issues got worse, food cravings got worse.
Yeah, we're snorting and snotting.
Yeah, just from doing one brownie. So
okay, I had two.
Well, I had one, and I had one Mrs. Schubert's rolls, which I thought were so good. And it's like, well, golly, I'm paying for this now for days. So it's really not worth it. And then they do this study out of Italy that 99% of the COVID deaths in Italy had underlying health conditions. More than 99% of fatalities from COVID occurred among people who had underlying medical conditions. And that came from an examination of 18% of Italy's COVID-19 deaths, which revealed that only 3 people who died, or 0.8%, had no underlying conditions. And on the contrary, nearly half the victims had 3 underlying conditions, while 1/4 had 1 or 2. And you're be surprised at what the number one rated problem was that they had was cardiovascular disease. They had high blood pressure, which you don't think about that. They had diabetes, not the lung issues that you think that you would have. Those come in at number 4. The chronic respiratory diseases came in 4th place. So you think it's just attacking people with weak lungs. It's attacking people that they're not healthy. And now, they're talking about bringing in 5G. They're really working on this 5G. That's another thing that's, so people can work at home and have better high-speed internet. That's also supposed to help bring your immune system down. So we're trying to get you guys to move and start being healthy. And a lot of you, God love you, y'all have bought more stuff in the last month and a half trying to stay well. I'm so proud. We're so proud of y'all for trying to stick with your programs.
And the people that have come back after an absence of a little while.
Yes.
Thank you.
You need to.
We appreciate the trust.
Right. And you need to stay the course. You need to make sure you stay well. It's time to start redoing those labs again. It's time to make sure that you're in optimal shape because the things around you are not.
Be a doer, not a viewer.
And the only thing you have control over is you. So you need to make it as strong as that you possibly can.
But as you get better, you're being a good example, and your family's going to notice and take place there. I've seen some spouses that did our program reluctantly just because the other spouse got on board and got healthy. And it created a healthier lifestyle for the entire family. So, that's a good thing. So, some of the things, Janet was talking about high blood pressure, cardiovascular disease, and diabetes. So I'll just throw in a little bit of this kind of stuff. I'm not a big fan of worrying about cholesterol, but, that's one man's opinion. You always have to decide who you want to follow. The thing about lack of B complex, for example, drives up something called homocysteine. That increases heart attacks because it makes cholesterol more likely to stick to the endothelium. The endothelium is inflamed. So it's not cholesterol that's the problem. It's the lack of B complex that drives up this. Homocysteine's a toxin. We try to keep it under a 7 or so. That in and of itself can bring up your body's ability to have a better immune system. The environment. inflames the endothelium, and that's why Janet said something about 5G. Whether that's true or not, I personally think it is, but that 5G could be a bad thing. The environment inflames the endothelium, which guess where one of the most polluted places in the world is. It's called China. Their number one cause of death is respiratory illnesses. Jan and I have been in China, and you could literally cut the smog inside a 5-star hotel down the hallway. It was horrible that you could see it that thick.
They should have been wearing masks a long time ago all the time, because that was horrible. Yeah, I know why they have masks on there.
Yeah, and you've got all kinds of things that people say, well, I don't see it, so it doesn't exist. Well, you don't see gravity either, but it still works. You don't see the wind. You may see the effects of it, but you don't see it. You got stuff like fluorocarbons, phenol, toluene. Man, if you smell it when you put your gas or diesel in your vehicle, there's an issue. Formaldehyde, glycerin, pesticides, tobacco, mercury, and all of those are very direct toxins to the heart. So you have to think about your environment. It is polluted. The one time I thought I had a heart attack, and I went to the cardiologist out of respect to my regular MD, and he said, no, you didn't have a heart attack, but you don't need to take all those supplements. Well, it turned out I'd been having a lot of dental work, and then I read the research on it. It said methyl acrylates used as dental bonding agents can cause heart attacks or symptoms of a heart attack without it being a complete heart attack. So I didn't have one. It just sure did feel like it. So, you've got to have mental health. There's the thing. During times of stress, instead of going to the Snickers and the Milky Way and the Bluebell, because Janet said this morning, did you eat a Milky Way? I said, yeah, because I put the wrapper in the trash can and our dog got it. So what you can do is be an uplifter. Uplift people by texting a friend, text a family member, say something nice. And I'm going to do a video for those of you that get that. I don't know where Janet puts it, but I'm going to do a video about squeezing an apple or squeezing a lime. Of course, I may make a drink out of that one. I don't know. In traffic, I've noticed that I'm much more polite than I used to be. When you get idiots out, people that are not aware and don't know how to drive, not idiots. I let them in the traffic. I wave at them. I smile. Intentional moments of kindness, laughter, and I'll use me as the butt of jokes, but intentional moments of kindness. I just loaned out my generator yesterday because there's still several days later people without power, and they don't know that I'm just going to give them the generator, and that's the second one that I've loaned out that I never asked for back. Of course, they'll be thrilled because they've not been blessed quite to the degree that Janet and I have. You need to go outside and get out of your comfort zone and do something to make somebody smile. Share a compliment. This week, Janet opened up a letter and started reading it, and then she realized, it wasn't addressed to Janet or me, and it was Alan from Maine. He's a sweetheart of a guy. He's one of the smart ones. He's been doing our program for probably 5 or 6 years, but he went on and on and on about how he understood how important brandy was and how wonderful brandy is, and we have never had a complaint about brandy. We get so many compliments. And I'll tell you this, if you ever complain about Brandy, I'll think you're an idiot because she is as close to perfect as you can get. She's the one that saved sanity and done something nice for Janet and me. So, Alan, thank you for taking the time to do that. Jonathan, thank you for taking the time to call me. Then you get, I talked about, Rob up in Lake Orion, Michigan, but then you got Gary up in Amarillo. You don't ever hear from Gary. He's doing a good job, but when I rarely do hear from him, he's doing something uplifting. So thank you for all that you do for us. It does make a difference. Kelly, our cheerleader from Alabama, I was disappointed when Janet took the call yesterday and it was Kelly. It's like, okay.
I never get to speak to any of these people, though, so I'm really excited to be able to talk to them sometimes because you always get all the fun. You get to do the interaction part.
Absolutely.
But I wish I could have had a picture of Brandy's face when she read that letter from Alan, because it was she kept it. I know she kept it because it meant that much to her. So you're making a big difference in other people's lives too there, Alan. So thank you. We talk about eating better, and I know people go, well, I can't really afford to eat good or well. But there are things that you can do that actually help insulin resistance, and I wanted Dr. Lewis to talk a little bit about intermittent fasting, because people are conditioned to eat 3 meals a day. And Dr. Lewis, doesn't intermittent fasting also help you to lose weight if you don't like maybe skipping breakfast and having your lunch and dinner within a 6-hour time frame, say 11 to 5?
Yeah.
I mean, does that make a big difference in what their blood sugar does? And can you explain a little bit about why that makes it different?
Well, I think it does, and it also helps your liver function better because of the way the liver stores glucose. I think it's a good thing. I just naturally do that. I've never been a big breakfast fan. I'll get a cup of coffee, and then after a cup of coffee, I'll start talking to Janet. She's like a little songbird. She wakes up chirping and being very sweet.
But some people that have problems with blood sugar, and I'm telling you this because I'm one of them, if they don't eat something in the morning, they feel bad, and they get cranky, and they get mean and sick. What do you recommend for someone that just needs to get by until lunchtime? What could they do differently?
We sell a lot of the perfect plant protein for that, and you really don't want to do anything that's carb or sugar. You want to do protein and good fat. So perfect plant protein, we mix up a lot of the supplements and nutrients in that, stir it up, and drink it. So it's not really a total fast, but it's fasting from sugars and carbs. Janet and I don't really eat that much, and like I said, I gained 2 pounds throughout all this. For me, 2 pounds is a big deal.
Well, and the other part of it is that people are eating so late in the evening because they say to eat between 11 a.m. and 5 p.m. And, now that a lot of you aren't working or you're working from home, because before it was, well, I don't get home till later. Well, a lot of you are home all day now. So eating before 5 is a more reasonable achievement, I guess, now to say that you could do that, because when you stop eating 3 hours before going to bed, it makes a huge difference in what your blood glucose sugar does.
Yeah, and you'll sleep better too. So, me, Tara said, I've got to get back to listening to your podcast. I miss your voice. And then she put a rabbit in a hole. It's like, well, it's better than something else. So I'm going to go down another rabbit hole. So here's the deal. Too much sugar, and we're talking about people that have a tendency toward diabetes, and that's way the majority of people, even if you're not into diabetes as diagnosed by your MD. If you have a high A1C, 5-7 or above, too much sugar equals fewer vegetables because it changes your taste buds, equals less zinc, equals poor taste equals more sugar. Talk about a vicious cycle. So here's the deal. Lower immune system, you have to assume less zinc. And we've got a zinc that's very inexpensive. It's called Zinc Plus. It has a little bit of vitamin C. It has the activated B6, and it has the zinc, but it has copper, and this is the Trax copper, bisglycinate chelate. And let me tell you what copper does. You don't hear about copper very much. Copper does have a lot of functions in the formation of your bones, your hemoglobin, your red blood cells, works in balance with zinc and vitamin C to form elastin. So, hey, think, if you got wrinkles and old-looking skin, you probably need the zinc and vitamin C, and I'm going to get to some more stuff related to that in a minute. It's very involved in the healing process. It's very involved in energy production. It's has a lot to do with hair coloring. Don't try to take too much of that. You shouldn't look like a copper penny. But it has to do with taste sensitivity, which is the same thing I was talking about with the zinc.
Maybe the women need that now that they can't get into their hair salons having copper, huh?
Yeah, you need the Zinc Plus. Anybody that's about 30, 40 years of age needs it anyway. Any man that's 40 needs it just to be preemptive to help with prostate issues. So that's very, very important. So the other thing is we have something called a multi-element buffered C. I'm not a big fan of ascorbic acid by itself, the vitamin C. So this is put with calcium ascorbate, potassium ascorbate complex, and magnesium ascorbate. And what that does, it buffers it and keeps it from being too acidic. It has magnesium, which I don't really want to get into magnesium. You don't get it out of your diet. It just can't come up into the plants because it's not in the soil that much. Got a little bit of zinc, but if you're taking this multi-element and the Zinc Plus, you will not overdose. And it's got the copper. You will not overdose taking both of them. But it's got manganese. Okay? You don't hear much about manganese either, and that has to do with insulin and decreasing insulin sensitivity. Manganese, think about this. If you've got brain fog, you have a too little B1 or thiamine, and I've talked to a lot of you people about this. Oh, you got brain fog. You probably have a belly full of yeast. They're stealing the thiamine or using that thiaminase enzyme that's messing it up. So for manganese, that's essential for people with iron deficiency anemia also. But it has to do with the working of the B-complex vitamins and gives you an overall feeling of well-being. Lowered manganese can contribute to heart disorders, thus what we're talking about, because heart issues and diabetes tendency can lower your immune system.
So that would help with blood pressure issues also?
It could. We always think about magnesium, but yes, manganese could, and you have to be careful because most supplements don't have it. But, a decrease in manganese can actually cause high cholesterol, hypertension. She jumped the gun. She didn't have notes. Yes, Janet has it all in her head. She's that good. It can contribute to irritability and memory loss. So if I'm irritable, I hope Janet doesn't remember it. Muscle contractions, so think restless legs. Pancreatic damage. Well, if you have pancreas damage, then you're not going to put out the insulin. You're going to have more of a chance of going toward type 2 diabetes, etc., etc., etc. So this is the multi-element buffered C. It also has potassium and quercetin. You heard us talk about quercetin before, and I'm not going to go through it again. If you want to know more about it, go listen to one of our previous podcasts. We've talked about it, and yes, there's research about your body having a higher immune system and more of resistance toward the booger bears that are out there, and it has reduced form glutathione, which is the master antioxidant. So multi-element buffered C and Zinc Plus, oh my God. But again, there's a lot of things we're out of. There's a worldwide, the good companies are being slammed and can't really get the raw materials. So if you want some, you better order it because I guarantee you we're going to run out.
Yeah, and I got tickled at Kelly that called in yesterday because she's like, I can't find some of these things on your site. I said, because the raw materials, there's a big struggle for who gets what with these companies right now. And, of course, we wait for only our good companies to restock some of these products. So there's only a handful of them that we were willing to use to put that back on our shelves. And she said, well, you need to tell these people to stay out of my stuff. So, Kelly, we're working as hard as we can to make sure that we have your stuff in stock. And that brings us to a couple of questions that we have here.
So we can send it to Alabama.
Yeah. So we have one from Laura that asked how we were holding up. And Laura, she's wonderful. She always keeps up with her health. She has got to be like our gold star patient for taking care of herself. She always does her labs when she's supposed to, and sometimes even before, because she wants to make sure she stays well.
But her action equates into better health. And I've seen her on Facebook. She's gorgeous, and she makes, oh my God, gorgeous, healthy babies.
Which may be a reason why she wants to be well, because she wants to make sure that she has everything she needs for her daughter to be healthy too in a mother. She wants to know if the labs are still up and running. Yes, they are still up and running. You know, people have been scared to go down to the lab. And from what I understand, the labs are not very crowded now, and they are taking a lot of extra precautionary measures to make sure that you're not around someone that would be exposed to anything. They're being very sanitary as well. One thing we are offering to try to help you guys get in better shape and get your test redone or get started is we're taking 10% off of the labs for this month only, and that's through April 30th. So if you're listening to this show late and it's past that, I'm sorry, but it's April 30th, 2020.
So you need to be an action taker and,
yes.
and not wait to hear the podcast. Just get on it.
It's
Do it now.
It's our COVID discount because we want to offer you a way to start getting well. And for people that don't know about getting well, that basically entitles you to 12 different panels of lab at a very low cost. That includes a functional medicine report, a consultation with Dr. Lewis, and supplement recommendations so that you're not guessing at what's going on with your health, and so that you can start being optimal and being on top of the game and not just waiting for things to sneak up and grab you, which is what it feels like a lot of people are sitting here doing. It's like, well, we're not playing that game. I'd love to know if anybody out there has gotten COVID. That is one of our patients. I've not heard of anyone that has. Most all of them are taking the things we recommended to them. I'm very curious to see how y'all are all holding up out there. So I'd really love for y'all to give us some feedback.
They're going to have a higher immune system, so a lower chance of getting it. So let me go back to Laura for just a minute. Mm-hmm. I was reading something the other day about how babies are affected by stress in utero. So when you're pregnant with them, the less stress you have, the healthier baby you have. And Laura was wonderful about taking care of her baby. And, I'm here to tell you, let's see, I've got a note here somewhere. What we eat is affected by our intestinal flora, which affects our blood glucose. That comes from Journal of Nutrition. So we have actually a probiotic very, very specific to breastfeeding mothers. So keep in mind that can take the stress off. And, of course, you want to do it while you're pregnant. But once you start breastfeeding, there's no anywhere close to a good substitute for mother's milk. The formulas are like eating a Snickers, so try not to go there.
And the other thing we've recently got that we waited forever for was our children's chewable multi.
Grandkid approved.
Yes.
Finally.
We had a kid, we gave it to this 2-year-old kid to try, and her mother said, "You just gave me a couple of them." I said, "I know, it's all I had." And she said she started crying because she wanted more of them because they tasted like candy to her.
So when you buy them, keep them up away from the kids.
Yes.
Don't let them OD on them.
Super good. We waited a very long time to find one that kids would actually eat. And
we've gone through a bunch that terrible.
We finally have them in stock. And also I want to address another part of Laura's question that she asked about. It says our website says products are different. Can we explain? And that has come up several times. Yes, we can. The issue is that as these raw materials are being fought over with a lot of these large companies, they don't have time to put our label on, our Green Wisdom Health label on the product.
They're working 24/7, all the time, trying to keep up.
So they get some in, and then they're right back off the shelf as soon as they get them in. So what we're doing is just literally buying them as soon as they hit their door, trying to keep some of this stuff in stock. So it is our products. It is what was on there with the label, and they're just got a different name, but we're attaching it to the name you knew. A picture will be beside it. If it is the exact same product, the picture beside it will just have a different name, and we're putting stickers on the lids of the name you know so that you won't be as confused.
And Janet's actually pre-bought a lot of this stuff to the point that she's puckered up because of how much money she spent without getting the products yet. But that puts us higher in line to get the stuff for you.
Yeah, so we're trying very hard to keep things in stock. Dr. Lewis, we're coming toward the end of this show. Is there anything that you would like to share with this show, with our listeners, to kind of keep them inspired and keep them moving in the right direction?
Yeah, I've mentioned just a few of the people that inspire us in different ways and for different reasons. And I think, all things do work for good. And I think what's going to happen because of this is we're going to realize that fear wasn't real. Within the will of God, there's nothing to fear. But I think when the dust settles, what's going to happen is we're going to realize how little we need, how much we actually have that we should be grateful for, and how the true value of the human connection. I'm still shaking hands and hugging people unless they're paranoid. And if they're paranoid, I slip up behind them and say, my God is stronger than that virus.
And how important health really is and will be. And with that, if you're new, like I said, please go to our website, greenwisdomhealth.com, fill out the health survey. Please pass our show around, subscribe to our channel. We really appreciate it. And keep an eye out for Dr. Lewis's little video that he will have on Instagram and Facebook shortly.
Yeah, I've got a really beautiful face for audio, so Janet, make sure I go on video, which I'm intimidated, but oh well.
And he's going to entertain you as only he can do.
I'm a doer, not a viewer, I promise you that.
You guys have a blessed week, and we'll be here next time on the Green Wisdom Health Show.
Once again, our show has come to an end, but your hope in your health is only beginning. If you or a loved one are in need of a different outcome and are waiting for a brighter future, take the first step and go to our website and fill out the health survey. Please don't keep us a secret. If you know someone that could benefit from this podcast, please share this show with your friends and family. You are only one step away from a life worth living.